Okay, good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this side event organized by UNIDIR. I'm Giacomo Persipaoli. I'm the head of the Security and Technology Program, and it's really a pleasure to be your moderator for today. At the outset, allow me to say that this event is recorded, and after the event will be made available on our YouTube channel. So if for any reason some of your colleagues weren't able to join us today, feel free to share the link once it is updated. Over the course of the last years, as some of you may know, UNIDIR has been developing a range of digital tools really to help you in your daily jobs across a variety of areas of disarmament and arms control. The purpose of this event is to provide you with an introduction and an overview of this range of tools that you can also find accessible and printed on this little leaflet that you have on the desk, and there is more materials by the door for you to pick up on your way out of the room. I also would like to flag that since the beginning of the week and for the whole duration of the week, we also have set up a little demonstration booth just outside of conference room 4. So if you're curious, after this event, if you want to learn more about how to use these tools, please feel free to stop by, and our colleagues will be very happy to give you a demonstration. So before we begin and we get into the details of the different tools, I would really like to give the opportunity to our distinguished speakers to provide some opening remarks. And first, I would like to turn to Ambassador Maritza Chan, the permanent representative of Costa Rica to the United Nations here in New York. Thank you again for joining us, and please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much to all of you for being here today. To our audience online, I'm grateful that you have the opportunity of participating in this lunch. We have a long history of engagement and advocating for international peace and security, disarmament, non-proliferation, and arms control. And faithful to our tradition, we will continue to be a strong activist as the new technologies emerge. Today, digital tools have emerged as formidable allies. They nurture a culture of transparency, collaboration, and informed policymaking. In this regard, the UNIDIR digital tools play a major role. They are invaluable assets. These tools encapsulate the realms of cyber, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and space security, facilitating transparency, collaboration, and the exchange of critical information. The comprehensiveness of these tools cannot be overstated, as they ensure that we address all aspects of modern security challenges, leaving no gaps in our understanding and response. In Costa Rica, the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal already houses key documents relevant to Costa Rica and many other states. The use of this portal will only increase as the numbers of languages supported rises, affirming the commitment to multilingualism, diversity, and inclusivity. The portal contains essential documents that are currently in development, including the forthcoming Costa Rica strategy on National Strategy on Cybersecurity 2023-2027, and the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal, and the Artificial Intelligence Strategy on UNIDIR's AI Policy Portal. Moreover, the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal features a dedicated sections on the abuse of international law, which includes the recently launched document by Costa Rica's position on the application of international law in cyberspace. I encourage you to read and touch upon that paper, because I think it's very ambitious and it's aligned with what we believe it is crucial to address when it comes to the use of cyber, not only in international law, but also in international humanitarian law. This inclusion underscores the importance of shaping international norms and legal frameworks in the digital age. We lack governing frameworks in cyber, AI, and all emerging technologies. Actually, we are lagging behind. That's why this portal is so important. As we embrace the digital era, our engagement with UNIDIR digital tools will continue and it's a symbol of our unwavering commitment to international peace and security and as a reliable partner in this regard. I extend an invitation to all of you to explore these tools and contribute with your suggestions and submissions, thereby furthering information sharing in this film. By promoting collaborative dialogues and informed policymaking, we not only address modern security challenges, but also actively contribute to a worldwide narrative of peace, security, and responsible digital governance. Shared knowledge is the first step in understanding and is necessary for achieving peace, and is through dialogue and information sharing that humanity wins. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your kind words and your support. We really appreciate to hear directly from you how our digital tools are helping Costa Rica and how relevant they are to you, to the region, and to the international community at large. I'm now very happy to give the floor to UNIDIR's director, Dr. Robin Geis.
Thank you, Giacomo, and thank you very much, Ambassador Maritza, for joining us here today and for your opening remarks. It's very much appreciated. And of course, also the support from Costa Rica. Good afternoon, everyone, and let me also extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this UNIDIR side event on digital tools in disarmament, where colleagues in a moment will lay out the full spectrum of the various digital tools that UNIDIR has developed and designed in recent years. It's a full new product line, if you want, for us at UNIDIR. The core business remain in-depth research reports, of course, but we're also always looking for new ways to better disseminate our research, to be as impactful as we can possibly be. And we feel that these digital tools that we've devised, and they have different forms and shapes and sizes that will be explained to you in a moment, but we really feel that these digital tools have helped boosting the dissemination and the impact of our research globally. Clearly, we're making the data that we're collecting accessible to all and globally so, and we're constantly trying to update these digital tools, which also means this is a very interactive event here today, because we're keenly interested to hear your feedback on all of these tools, what works, and maybe if you feel something doesn't work or could be improved, then we're very keen to hear it, because these are living instruments, and we're constantly not only updating them, but also improving them. We started out in 2019 with the Cyber Policy Portal, and it has undergone various iterations and updates ever since, also to make it more usable on your digital smaller devices, not just on your desktop, so that diplomats can actually revert to the portal in the room when they're actively participating in relevant negotiations. The Cyber Policy Portal is available now in all UN official languages, and it provides a policy overview from all 193 UN member states, as well as some selected international organizations and multi-stakeholder and other initiatives. It does provide access to the National Survey on Implementation on Responsible Use of ICTs, which serves as a self-assessment tool for member states. And it also provides access to the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal database, which hosts over 1,500 cybersecurity-related documents from around the world. And it's a very interactive tool where states regularly provide us with new and the latest information, and that's exactly the kind of think tank that we want to be, in constant interaction also with the audience, with policymakers, with states, trying to devise the most up-to-date database and tool that we can possibly offer. Now, based on the excellent experiences that we've been having with the Cyber Policy Portal, we pretty much replicated the model behind it, the programming and all the setup, and devised the UNIDIR artificial intelligence database. Because we feel artificial intelligence increasingly is a fast-moving field. There is significant momentum now and governance efforts or efforts at designing governance models for AI underway. And our hope, of course, is that by devising a portal like the AI portal, we can at least contribute to transparency, to some confidence building, to set some standards where with an easily searchable, accessible database, states can have a look what others are doing, and maybe that can also lead to some good practices or a more common understanding of how governance models at a national, regional, international level could be designed for artificial intelligence. We then have different digital tools as part of the Middle East Weapons of Mass Destruction Free Zone project that UNIDIR is hosting. There is a document depository and there is a Middle East WMDFZ timeline as well, which traces the history of the entire process, and the depository has brought to light some documents from private sources and private collections that otherwise wouldn't be accessible and possibly even be lost. So we really have made an effort there to document the entire process and then make it openly accessible for all to use in their research undertakings and policy undertakings. More recently, we have launched the database on national implementation measures of the Biological Weapons Convention, another critical topic in the 21st century, certainly, and coming out of the COVID pandemic. We're undertaking this project in partnership with the NGO Vertic, and the database is a searchable tool that contains information on how all state parties to the Biological Weapons Convention are implementing this important instrument. Most recently, and to give you the latest, the space security program at UNIDIR, in cooperation with the Secure World Foundation, has launched the Space Security Portal and the Space Security Lexicon, and Almu, I'm sure, is going to go into more detail on both of these instruments. Now, I think with that, I'll leave it there. It was just like a starter, because colleagues will now go much deeper into the different instruments that we have. Let me say, UNIDIR, as a voluntarily funded organization, we would not be able to develop any of these tools without the help of our various donors, to whom we're most grateful, of course, for their support. And ultimately, our hope is that we can make hopefully a significant and impactful contribution with these portals, not just to better inform the diplomatic audience and stakeholders and policymakers, but also make a contribution to trust building and confidence building in very difficult geopolitical times. Thank you all very much. Ambassador Shan, thank you once again for joining us here today, and back to you, Giacomo.
Thank you, Robin. And we'll now turn to the presentations, in which all of our colleagues will take turns in introducing you the various tools. We will have time for questions at the end, or at least we're going to try our best to make sure there is time for questions. If you're following us online, please do not hesitate to write questions in the chat as the presentation goes. Don't necessarily have to wait until the very end. And then I will do my best to relay the questions to the various presenters. Please, also in the room, if you want to engage, just press the button to access your microphone. So for the first presentation, we have my colleague in the center, Lenka Filipova, who is the Digital Tools Coordinator for the Security and Technology Program. And she will be providing an overview of the Cyber Policy Portal, the attached database, the National Survey of Implementation, and the AI Policy Portal. So quite a few topics to go over. Lenka, over to you.
Thank you, Giacomo, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Robin and Ambassador Chan, for joining us, for your continuous support. And thank you all for joining us today. So I will briefly talk about the digital tools of the UNIDIR Security and Technology Program before inviting you to join me for the live demonstration. The UNIDIR Security and Technology Program hosts several platforms, namely the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal, the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal, the National Survey of Implementation, and the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal Documents Database. So let's start with the portals. The UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal was established in January 2019, and by now we had over 80,000 visits on the portal. Building on its success, we also launched the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal in May this year. The portals map the cybersecurity and AI policy landscape of all 193 UN member states, as well as select group of intergovernmental organizations and multi-stakeholder and other initiatives. So what is the purpose of these tools? The aim is to promote transparency, information sharing, confidence, and capacity building in the field of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. The portals have been designed to support the work of diplomats, security policy experts, policymakers, and the research community. I will now invite you to join me, so please take your laptops or mobile phones to explore the various features the portals have to offer. So I will ask my colleague Almu to go to the landing page of the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal. Thank you very much. So let's look into the profile of Costa Rica we recently updated. Here we are. So I don't know if you can see it on the screen. It's a little bit small, but there is last reviewed button. So the portal, the profile was last reviewed in October 2023. We have a suggest and update button that will lead you to the contact forum. You can also see a print as a PDF if you wish to access the information in an offline version. You see access database profile, and I will talk about this one later. So each national profile, be it on the Cyber Policy Portal or the AI Policy Portal, has 4 main categories. And each category has a number of subcategories. So these categories follow a similar structure across the portals, but are specific for each tool. So we have cybersecurity policy category that allows us to look into strategy documents and implementation frameworks. In the structures, we map the responsible agencies, the key positions, the other dedicated agencies and departments, but also computer emergencies and incident response teams. We look into legislation and views on international law. So when we click on legal framework, we can see legislation and views on international law. And we see that Costa Rica recently published its position paper on the application of international law in cyberspace. And last but not least, we have a section dedicated to cooperation. So we look into multilateral agreements, UN processes, bilateral and multilateral cooperation, such as the MOUs, Memoranda of Understanding, but also various activities, select activities such as trainings. I will now invite my colleague to go to the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal. So when we go to the browse, we can access the filter feature. The filter feature accessible on the portals allows to filter by the various subcategories on the tools. So we have 13 subcategories available on the Cyber Policy Portal and 14 on the AI Policy Portal. So we can filter, for instance, by countries that have strategies. So we can click at the bottom of the list on strategies. And we can also narrow down the information to strategies and implementation frameworks, implementation plans and programs at the top of the list. Perfect. And when we scroll up, we see there is a toggle feature which is unique for the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal. When we switch on an OR button, it allows us to choose between the logic of the filter feature. So one of the most popular features is the compare feature. It allows to compare side-by-side profiles of up to 3 states and up to 3 organizations. So in no particular order, we can select some of the countries that share the submission with us. We can go with the Czech Republic, Japan, Japan, and Mexico. And you see the drop-down menu, so it allows us to compare the information side by side. We have the same logic also for the organizations section. It allows us to compare the profiles of up to 3 organizations side by side as well. So unique to the AI policy portal is also the page dedicated to events, conferences, and summits. So when we go back to the browse button on the portal, we can select the events, conferences, and summits. Thank you. This page offers events, conferences, and summits that explore impact of AI on global peace and security. So this includes both the past and the upcoming events. So for instance, for the past events, we have the UNIDIR Innovations Dialogue that took place in June in Geneva, but we can also see at the top of the page the UK AI Safety Summit that will take place in November. So now we can go very quickly to the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal. One of the new features on the Cyber Policy Portal is the content search. So on the right side, next to the language variations, we can see search. It allows to search information within the summaries and titles on the national profiles and also the organizations. So we can search by critical infrastructure, for instance. Critical infrastructure. So I can't see it, it's way too far, but for instance, when we click on states, we can narrow down the search, and it gives us 163 results for critical infrastructure. So we can narrow down the search to states, and we see, for instance, Croatia released its Act on Critical Infrastructure. If you want to learn more, you just click on Read More or the profile, and it leads you back to the profile of Croatia. So we don't need to do this as part of the live demo, but I would also like to mention that we have a section dedicated to multi-stakeholder and other initiatives, such as the recently launched Global Partnership for Responsible Cyber Behavior, facilitated by RUSI. We have also this page on the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal. Separately from that, we have also other resources page, both for the Cyber and AI Policy Portal, that allows us to share with you other useful tools that are out there. I would also ask my colleague to help me to showcase the language variations. So when we go to the landing page, we see a drop-down menu here, and it allows us to search or choose from the various languages. So the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal is the tool that is currently available in all UN official languages. We translated the portal interface and all the accompanying sites with the help of the UN translation unit. So we can, for instance, select, we have Spanish here, so you see all the information is translated into Spanish as well. So we are also in the process of translating the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal into all UN official languages. As of now, we already offer an option to translate the summaries and titles on the national profiles using Google Translate plugin. This is available both for Cyber and AI Policy Portal, so I will ask my colleague to select any of the countries on the list. For instance, we can select Czech Republic. Or any other country, so we can quickly showcase how the Google Translate feature works. So, for instance, in the first category, when we click on the first category, thank you very much, we can see the report on the state of cybersecurity in the Czech Republic from 2022. And when we click on Read More, it offers us the text. And at the bottom of this box, we see an option to translate it with the help of the Google Translate into all UN official languages. I would just like to highlight that this feature is available both on Cyber and AI Policy Portal. So you may be asking, how do we gather all the data on the portals if we are mapping the landscape of all 193 UN member states? The data is drawn from official open source and voluntarily submitted material. We also regularly send requests for updates to states, intergovernmental organizations, and partner organizations. As mentioned before, the UNIDIR AI Policy Portal was launched just a couple of months ago, so we are still in the process of data collection. We have a dedicated submission survey at the header of the page. So we would like to encourage you to share your submission with us. So you can also share your suggestions or comments using the contact form on the Cyber Policy Portal or AI Policy Portal. And we also have dedicated email address, aipolicyportal@un.org, and cyberpolicyportal at un.org. So due to time constraints, I will mention the following tools very briefly, but I invite you to stop by our booth next to the conference room 4. In March 2022, with the kind support of Australia, we launched the National Survey of Implementation. It collates the national take-up of the recommendations from the 2015 GGE report. It also allows member states to conduct regular self-assessment and serves as a baseline assessment tool. It further supports transparency, information sharing, and confidence building, and can support member states in responding to the General Assembly invitation to inform Secretary General of their views and assessments on the issue of developments in the field of ICTs in the context of international security. So reflecting the 4 elements of the framework of responsible state behavior in the use of ICTs, the survey is divided into 4 parts. So I will invite my colleague to go to the National Cyber Survey. Here we are. We can click on Start Survey. And we see that part 1 is dedicated to international law. Part 2 is dedicated to norms, rules, and principles for responsible state behavior. And part 3 is dedicated to confidence-building measures. This section also provides an opportunity to nominate and share POCs. And part 4, I believe it's 93%, is dedicated to capacity building. So we have a number of fallback mechanisms in place. So you can download an empty survey. You see it at the top of the page. If you wish to work with the offline version of the survey, you can download the draft document, which you could see at the bottom of the page. So for instance, if you wish to share it with your colleagues for feedback. And also next to it, we see that you can generate a unique link to access this survey later. So as mentioned before, the survey is primarily a self-assessment tool, but we also provide an option for member states to share their survey submission with us for publication on their profile on the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal. And lastly, in March this year, during the OEWG, we also launched the UNIDIR Cyber Policy Portal Documents Database. It is a repository of documents that are referred to in the profiles of all 193 UN member states on the Cyber Policy Portal. The database allows for advanced search in the cyber-related documents. We collected and analyzed over 1,500 PDF documents. We included all the available language variations for the documents. We have now documents available in 55 different languages. I will invite my colleague to briefly showcase also the database. So when we go explore the database at the top of the page, we can access all the documents. And we see the database here. So as mentioned before, we have over 1,500 PDF documents available in 55 different languages. We also analyze the English documents based on our thesauri of terms, where we have 21 topic labels. And we also have a built-in OCR that allows us to scan the documents. So for instance, when we go at the top of the page, there is a search, and we can search by gender. And we see that there is 286 documents that mention this term. So I will invite my colleague to go back to the slides. And as we look ahead to the upcoming month, we would like to share with you a glimpse of what's on the horizon for the Security and Technology Program Digital Tools. In the upcoming months, we'll introduce language variations for the AI Policy Portal. We are also in the process of developing a documents database for the AI Policy Portal akin to the one we have for cyber documents. And we are starting a data exchange project with GFC Civil Portal on capacity building initiatives. So thank you all very much for your attention, and I will hand over back to you, Giacomo.
Thank you, Lenka. And colleagues, I think you now understand why we have set up a booth to demonstrate all of this, because it's a lot to cover, and I'm sure you will have a lot of questions, so please do not hesitate to visit us after the event. For the second presentation, I would like to give the floor to a colleague that is joining us virtually, Hans Akane, who's the head of the project of the Middle East WMD Free Zone. She will be discussing the project's timeline and the documents depository that Robin also mentioned in his introduction. So, Hen, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for not being able to join you in person today, but given events in the Middle East, I just want to convey our partner as well as people that we know in the region that we hope that all hostilities will end as soon as possible. With that, let me move to the online tools. For the Middle East Weapon of Mass Destruction Free Zone proposal, on which discussion first started in the 1950s and continue until today, it is really crucial to document all the different processes, initiatives, statements, and working papers, resolution and reports that exist, because many of them have not been recorded. And the first online tool that I will share with you is the Middle East Weapon of Mass Destruction Documents Depository, which we launched in October 2020 with the funding by the EU. It acts as a resource hub that collects and organizes the main documents related to the evolution of the zone. And it's really valuable resources both for researchers that looking for the history of the zone, academics, or are wish to teach on the topic, especially in the region, as well as practitioners that support the current as well as future processes aimed at arms control, disarmament, and regional security in the Middle East. Next slide, please. I will, with that, show you I will start with the document depository, the one to the left. With that, I will share. This is our website, our new design. As with every other tool that will be mentioned today, you can reach it from the tools. And we will start with the document depository. Right now, there are over 510 documents. You can enter to it by exploring the depository. And then what can be done in the depository is really looking at it both as a list as well as a thumbnail, so you can see it here. We can sort the different documents by date, starting really from the beginning of the idea of the zone in 1958, with the processes going forward. So if, for example, up to the 2023 right now, in the processes that are taken now, either if it's documents that were showing up in the NPT PrepCom, as well as the November conference that are coming up in a month from now on the nuclear and weapon of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East that will take place in New York. You can also sort by originating or either as a states, and you have all the countries that made the statements, mainly regional countries, but also others, as well as originating forum, either if it's the Arms Control Regional Security Working Group of the 1990s or the GCC, the Gulf Cooperating Council, the non-alignment movements, etc. You can also sort it out by a language, and we have 5 languages of different documents that were uploaded, and as well as type of document. So you can see whether it was a decision, a letter by a member country from the region, working paper, non-paper, studies, etc. So you can view really it in a useful way. And the important thing is that it is an important that we continue to update. So you can see actually, if I would have sorted by year, you would have seen more from 2023. So it is a live, a living tool that we continue to upload documents to. And the other important thing that Robin has mentioned is that there are documents that have never been published before, either from individual or private collections, as well as from different events that happened that we acquired and got the approval to publish. Most of them are coming or from the Arms Control and Regional Security Working Group from the 1990s, so I can show you just an example of those. Others, so you can see those chairmans, as well as draft statements. Practically, this is the main statement that ever countries in the region got as close as possible to agree on arms control measures. Or the other process that have never been documented before is the Lyon-Geneva informal consultation. So we got also documents from there, and you can scroll through them and read the different position of different countries that participated in the negotiations. So with that, I will turn to the other tools that I'm presenting today, which is the Middle East timeline. Sorry, just a second. Okay. So this is a timeline, and the objective of the timeline is really to create a baseline of knowledge and provide information over 60 years of the key diplomatic milestone of the Middle East weapon of mass destruction free zone. It includes over 150 milestones of the zone, events, resolution, meetings. And when we started compiling all those milestones, we really did not thought it would be such a huge undertaking. And the main issue was really, when we thought about the process, is which events to include and which events not to include. And as anyone that's experienced Middle East politics, you will have at least one, if not 3 ideas of what is important, what is not important in the history of the zone. So we did engage with the process of deciding what are the criteria to include documents and events with current as well as former officials from the region and from the NPT depository state, as well as experts on the topic who review and vetted the event that we included, as well as the criteria. And we had really 3 criteria, what is included and why. So the first one is that milestone document is one that has affected the course of the zone process, generated new information on the topic, or signified a change in position. The second criteria was that the milestone or document originated from the state that will make up the Middle East weapon of mass destruction free zone, or the document, the NPT depository or international organization and forum that have been named in any of the resolutions pertaining to the zone. And the third criteria was availability of the document to substantiate the event. So with that, if you come with me along to the journey of seeing the timeline, what you see is really, we are getting into the timeline. You can go as far as the 1950s when we have the first event related to that. In the 1960s, we still have only one event. And then move into the 1970s when the zone idea a little bit got more traction, especially because it introduced into international forum. You can see many more events. Moving to the 1990s, you can see, you can see that you have many more events. We have many more events, and you can scroll through them through here or from the bottom. Another important feature is that we added is the mini timeline, because some of the key events of the zone were part of processes that were spanning over several years. So we thought it would make sense to collect this and have user explore them together. So for example, if I'm bringing us back to the 1990s, there are one of these processes is the Arms Control and Regional Security Working Group, what we call ACRES in the 1990s that started, and I will give you just an example of being able to get into the mini sorry, this is here. So this is the mini timeline. Discover more, and then you can scroll within the different events that happened and the documents that took place during ACRES. You might be able also to see that we add words that are underlined. I will give you an example here. So for example, this one, if you open that, it will open the statements. So for example, this is an intersessional meeting. It will give you the documents that described in the text itself. And this is actually connected to the document repository that I presented earlier. So both there are synergies between the two tools. And sometimes also else that you will notice is that there are also explore more options. So bear with me, we'll get back to the 80s, for example. And here you can, under the discover more, for example, you will have explore content, and this is another explanation of the specific events that are described here. We felt that there are just additional information as well as document that we think will help better understand the event that we describe here. The time will also have the search function. For example, if I put Syria here, you will see all the documents that pertain to Syria. If you decide to just want to see the entire timelines, you just can delete anything from the search, and then you will have the entire timeline as a list. The last important part that I want to emphasize is because we want to make the issue of the zone more accessible to everyone in the region, we have it also in the 3 languages of the region. So we have it in Arabic, Hebrew, and Persian. So with that, I will another features that I want to mention is if you click on through the years, you get back to the timeline, and you can get to the beginning where you can scroll through the decades. Every decade has its own color codes. It just makes it easier to see where you are within the long history of the zone. So with that, I will finish here and we'll bring it back to the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Hen, for your contribution online. We're now coming back to the room, and also conscious of the time, I may invite my colleague to keep an eye on the time and perhaps speed up a little bit the presentations. We now have Maria Garzón Maceda, who is an associate researcher with the WMD program and coordinator for the project that focuses on the database on national implementation measures of the Biological Weapons Convention. Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giacomo, very much. I'll try to go a little bit faster. So this is one of the latest projects that UNIDIR has launched. We launched it in August this year, and as Robin had mentioned, we are doing this together with Vertec and with funding from the US government. The database is essentially a searchable, publicly accessible resource that contains information on the national implementation measures that are undertaken by all of the states parties to the Biological Weapons Convention. So a little bit more restricted than other of our portals. We're trying to essentially bring together laws, regulations, and other measures on a particular topic that are being implemented or in the process of being approved. And also, I must do a quick disclaimer here. This is a significant project. It will take years to complete. So far, we have only about 20 states parties profiles. We have a long way to go in collecting data for all of the 185 states parties to the Biological Weapons Convention, but we look forward to this challenge, also translating the documents. The database, or why we're doing this, essentially to strengthen the implementation of the BWC by allowing to understand different approaches to how the convention is being implemented. Also to serve as a confidence building tool, as Robin mentioned. The idea is that this is not a compliance assessment tool. I want to be clear about that. We are not undertaking an evaluation of what states parties are doing. There's no score, no ranking. We're just presenting the information showing what has been done. So to this end, the database is useful for states parties, but also for signatories of the convention who might wish to see how implementation has been done in other countries, that are considering adapting their legislative framework and implementing measures. It could be a useful tool in sharing these experiences and also in helping identifying areas that require more strengthening, that require perhaps developing international cooperation programs. So definitely a lot of potential there. Thank you. On the left side, you can see the features of the database, which I'm going to go through in a moment in the live demo. And on the right, you can see the categories that we consider for this database. I'm going to explain this in a second. Almu, if you could, perfect. Thank you so much. So this is the homepage, very similar to what Lenka just described. You can hover over the map to see information, but then you also have a menu on the top left. You can click on states to find a particular state, or you can click on filters, which allows you to visualize states in the map according to specific measures, for example, prohibitions or biosafety or biosecurity, different things. Again, the map currently shows some of the countries that we already have, not everything. So this is going to be completed over time. If we go to a country profile, we can use Poland as an example, perhaps. You can see all of these are standardized profiles. So we have an information on top, basic information about the country. And as you scroll down, you see the information on the different categories. So we have prohibitions, we have export, import, and other transfer controls, biosafety and biosecurity, oversight of life science dual-use research, governmental organization for administering and enforcing the convention, reports on the 1540 resolution, BWC working papers, BWC confidence building measures when these are available, because they might not be, and finally, last but not least, assistance and cooperation offers under Article 10 of the Convention. We have deliberately taken here a broad approach to these categories of national implementation, including CBMs or Article 10 offers, because this basically allows us to future-proof the database and also explore some things that might be novel or emerging, for example, cyber biosecurity. We have that included in the database. So now if we scroll back, we go into provisions. I want to show you how these sections work. So if you hover over the information symbol, you can see a definition, a working definition for each category that is displayed for further clarity into what exactly we mean by this category. These definitions are also available on the glossary that is accessible through the main menu on the top. We're not going to go there. I'm just showing you where you can find it. But basically, this has been developed only for purposes of this database. These explanations, these definitions, of course, don't hold any official status. nevertheless, quite helpful. Regarding the content itself, for each category, we have a short factual paragraph that you can see on screen that summarizes how the country has implemented these categories, for example, prohibitions. And then if you click on details, you can see, for example, if a country has included in their legislation a definition of biological weapons or not. So you can see on the right side a green check, or we also have no, so no laws, no information has been found on this topic. And we also have another category which is in progress. So we have found information saying that legislation has been presented to the appropriate legislative body. Another feature, if you click then on the resources tab, as Lenka also showed, this shows you basically the database of documents and relevant links for this section in particular. But then also, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see a section with all of the legislation, all of the documents, all of the links for this particular country. Now, I'm going to show you very briefly the comparison tool. So going to the compare button on the top. It allows us to see up to 5 countries, so a little bit more than the other tools that we have. It can get a little bit crowded, especially if you're accessing from your phones, but it's a very useful tool. We can see, for example, Benin and Bahamas as an example to show you how this looks. Bahamas, yes, let's go to compare, and then you see the basic information side by side as we have seen before. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you see you can access the summary under prohibitions with a pop-up. We can close it and go to details section now, which basically shows you side by side the details of this particular category. And the same if you go up and click on resources, you're able to see 2 tabs with the different documents. Again, you can add up to 5 different countries here, and you can also download the information as a PDF. So back to the main page, the home page, I just want to quickly mention other key features that this portal, this database has. One is the glossary, which I already mentioned. We also have additional resources with useful related tools, publications, links, and also we have the multilingual feature. You can change the language, for example, to Spanish, as Lenka also mentioned. The website is available in all UN official languages, and all profiles have the English versions of the information, and the content in time will be translated into all official languages. This is the summaries that we've just seen, where the provisions are located, but also specific key details of the documentation for each country will be translated, are being translated. Now we can go just back to the presentation briefly to tell you how we are doing this work. So we have a multilingual team of researchers who collect, review, and translate the data in multiple languages. And we focus on publicly available official sources, such as official gazettes or governmental websites. We have established a clear data collection protocol, which allows us to ensure consistency across profiles, and we do internal cross-reviews of the information between Vertic and UNIDIR. Then, once we have collected all of this information, we reach out to the state party and we provide an opportunity for them to review this information, to give us feedback. If we can do this online or also through in-person or online meetings if it's allowed. And before publishing, we make every effort in reaching out to states and engaging with them to ensure that the information we put in the portal is as accurate as possible. As with other digital tools, the database benefits from your engagement when we do reach out to you, so please do get in touch with us, or you can also reach us through the email that you see on screen for the help desk. And as of further developments, we aim to complete all states parties' profile by the end of 2024. We are currently incorporating about 6 to 8 country profiles per month across regional groups, and also, as I said, expanding the number of translated documents and information. After that, the team will work on continuously updating the profiles to keep this relevant and up to date. And we hope this will ensure the sustainability and relevance of the portal over time. And we're basically finally considering exploring further enhancements to the database as well. So if you have suggestions, we're very happy to hear them. With that, I'll turn back to you, Giacomo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for your presentation. And of course, last but not least, I'll now give the floor to my colleague Almudena Azcarate Ortega, who's a researcher at the Space Security Program, and she will present the Space Security Portal and the lexicon on space security. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giacomo. I'm conscious of the time, so I will also try my best to be brief. First, I will tell you a little bit about the Space Security Portal, which we recently launched this past August. And as Lenka, Maria and Hen before me did, I invite you to also, if you have your electronic devices with you, you can go online to spacesecurityportal.org to check it out as we talk about it together. So similarly to the other portals, and again, building on the success of previous portals that we've developed at UNIDIR, like especially the cybersecurity portal, we wanted this tool to be an interactive one-stop online hub for many sorts of documents related to space security. Not just policies, of course, policies are there, but also processes, structures, laws, both national and international, related to space security. With it, we interactively map the global space governance landscape. We are trying with this tool to make space security more accessible. This is a difficult topic. There is a lot of information and there is a lot of things happening in space security right now, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. So we're trying to use this tool to make it a little bit more accessible for all, not just diplomats and policymakers, of course, but also security, policy experts, the research community, and in general, anyone who might be interested in this topic. The Space Security Portal was developed in conjunction with the NGO, the Secure World Foundation, and it was produced thanks to the generous contributions from the Republic of Korea as well as the government of France. So here you can see a little bit of what the Space Security Portal features. You will notice similarities to portals that have already been presented, like the filter feature, the content search, other resources page, etc. And we are actually going to be looking at it together. So give me just 1 second. There we go. As you can see, you might already be sort of bored of seeing this kind of start page. All of them look very similar. And this is how it looks for space security. So I'm going to take you to, let's see, the Republic of Korea. Let me see if I can try to make it a little bit bigger so that you can see. Okay. Oh, I don't know what I did there. I'm so sorry. There we go. As you can see in each of the country profiles or the organization profiles that we have, we feature things very similarly, perhaps a little bit differently to what you've seen in other portals, but essentially it's the same principle. You have a general description of security tools here at the very beginning, and you have different categories that we can make a little bigger so that you can see what we have. Again, we have doctrine and policy, but we also have implementation frameworks. We have national structure, which includes centers. It also includes governing organs. So it's not just policies, but also you have what organs does the Republic of Korea have that deal with space security issues. Also legal materials, legislation at the domestic level, and also regulatory materials, and last but not least, international engagements. So what treaties is that particular country part of? So we have the full name of a treaty here, but also the shorthand name that it's most commonly known by. So as you can see, very similar to all of the other portals. We also have that info. If you want to know what we mean by national structure, you can look it up. But we also have a glossary at the very bottom. You can find this glossary here where you can find the different definitions. As Maria said, the same applies to us. This is not in any shape or form official definitions of what these terms mean, but it's just to help you navigate this tool. We also have, let me go back to the main page. We also have a submission survey here, which you can use to send us information. So far, we've received, we have here in this portal 22 states or organizations that are featured in this portal. Again, we just launched in August, so it might not seem like a lot, but there are a lot of documents. There are many, many entries, around 700, if I'm not mistaken. And around 14 languages are already featured in this space security portal. If you are trying to look for your own country and you see that it's not there, we would be very grateful if you could send us information relevant to your country. We've been trying to prioritize those countries who have sent us information, but we've also been trying to ensure that the countries that are represented so far sort of comprise geographically representative examples of states that are doing space security. In fact, related to who has submitted information about their country so far, we have this data transparency tab, which I think is unique to the space security portal. And here we feature data contribution acknowledgements as well as note of methodology. In here we have the countries that have so far submitted their information. Of course, we want to be very respectful of countries' choices to disclose the fact that they have submitted their information. So if a country does not want to be featured there, we of course are very respectful of that and would not feature them without their consent. But this also serves as as Robin rightly said at the very beginning, these portals want to help transparency and confidence building measures. We believe that this is also a way to foster transparency. And similarly to what other portals include, we have this other resources tab where we include information that can be useful, which is produced by other entities like, for example, UNIDIR, Reaching Critical Will, the Secure World Foundation. And here we have this space security lexicon, which is what I'm going to be talking about next. So I'll go back to the presentation real quick. Before I do, though, I'm going to highlight this slide here. There you have, in case you didn't catch it, you didn't catch how to access the information submission survey, you can also send us feedback on that email that you can see on the screen. You can take a photo or write it down. So let's move on to the lexicon for space security. What is it? With the space security lexicon, the way that this idea was born is that observing space security discussions, mostly at the multilateral stage at the UN, we noticed that countries will often use terms, the same term, but actually mean different things. This issue is made even more complicated by the fact that we speak 6 official languages at the United Nations, which can make this issue trickier to deal with. And also another reason why we thought this would be an important tool is because, of course, space can seem very technical, especially for states that are beginning to become involved in this field, and the amount of acronyms, the amount of technical terms that we use can be very daunting. It was definitely the case for me when I first became involved in the field, and I would have loved to have a tool like this when I first started out. So we really hope that this tool can help states navigate the field of space security in a more accessible and friendly way. The target audience again is diplomats, policymakers, of course, but essentially anyone who might be interested in space security. And this tool was also developed with our partners from the Secure World Foundation and with the generous funding of the Republic of Korea. I'm not going to do a live demo of the lexicon, but there are copies of the lexicon at the front of the room, and you can also access it online. You might be surprised, why are we featuring the space security lexicon in a panel where we're talking about digital tools when the lexicon doesn't have its own website? It isn't technically a digital tool. The reason why, it's because it's not a digital tool yet. Since the very beginning, we envisioned this lexicon to have its own website, similarly to what the portals do, and we intend to also link it to the space security portal. So when you see a country profile, for example, and you see a term and you want to know what it means, you can click. You will be able to click on that term, and it will lead you to the lexicon. So it will be made very interactive. But before I go on to talking about further developments, both for the lexicon and for the portal, let me talk a little bit about the methodology. How did we come up with the terms that are currently featured in the lexicon? We analysed multiple documents presented by UN member states, either their statements, resolutions, working papers, etc., that they presented in different fora, like the Conference on Disarmament, the recently concluded open-ended working group on reducing space threats. And from analysing those documents, we took the terms that came up most frequently, the terms that were highlighted as the sort of more contentious, and the acronyms that came up the most frequently as well. We gathered a group of 11 space security and disarmament experts who helped us shortlist that even more, that list of terms that we had selected, and work on definitions for those terms. We did this throughout written correspondences as well as 2 different workshops. And once we developed the document, we also engaged with external peer reviewers who are experts in space law, policy, as well as from the technical side of space, like engineering, and also working at institutions like UNIDIR, the ICRC, or entities like UNIDIR. So we've engaged with others in the UN sort of structure to come up with this lexicon. The way that we analysed the documents, it was primarily in English. The workshop was also conducted in English, but among all of the experts that were involved in this project, we do speak the 6 official languages of the UN. And where relevant, we also analysed documents in other languages where appropriate. And even though we currently only have the lexicon in English, we are creating versions in all 6 UN official languages. And I say versions and not translations intentionally, because, as I mentioned, language can be an issue, and things that are an issue in English might not be so in French or in Spanish. So the example that I always like to give is the term space security. In English, we have space security and we also have space safety, and they mean very different things, and at the UN, they are addressed in different fora. But in a language like, for example, Spanish, we don't have that distinction. We use seguridad espacial for both of them. So in the Spanish version, this will be featured in a more prominent way than in English. Also, this comes up in French. For French, to say space security, we say sûreté spatiale, but to say safety, we say sécurité spatiale, which to a non-native French speaker, that can sort of be shocking. So that is also something that would be featured more prominently in the French version, but it might not be an issue in the Chinese version. I don't speak Chinese, unfortunately, so I cannot tell you how it would work in Chinese. So we're already working on that, and we hope to have those translation ready either by the end of this year or by the beginning of next year, so you have a nice present for the winter holidays to look forward to. In terms of what the structure of the lexicon looks like, as I mentioned, we have 3 different things that we look at. Acronyms, it's just a list of very commonly used acronyms and their meaning. Common definitions, like, for example, space vehicle, geostationary orbit, low Earth orbit, things that are very commonly used and are generally not very contentious. And then we have terminology frequently used by states in space security discussions. These are terms that are maybe a little bit more contentious, like, for example, what is a space weapon? What is a counter-space capability? What is space security? And with these definitions, we do not intend to tell the world what the definition should be. And this is, again, not an official document that attempts to kind of like make people define things as we do, not so. In fact, what we do, especially with that 3rd section, is we highlight these different interpretations. So one definition might highlight those different meanings that I was speaking about at the beginning. I do have to say that both of these tools that I highlighted, the Space Security Portal and the Space Security Lexicon, are living instruments, are living tools, as Robin mentioned at the beginning. So we will continue to develop them with a portal. We will add more countries. We will make it available in all UN official languages. We will add new tools, as some of the really cool tools you've seen in the cyber and other portals, like the filtering, the comparison, all of that. We would like to add it to the Space Security Portal as well. And we also wish to develop a Space Security Portal documents database. For the Space Security Lexicon, again, as I mentioned, we seek to release versions in all UN languages. We want to develop an interactive web page linked to the Space Security Portal, as I mentioned earlier as well. And we want to release subsequent editions with new terms. If the terms that we currently have continue to evolve or change in any way, we want to highlight that as well. And in order to carry out these further developments, we really are counting on your support. We would love for you to use these tools. Tell us if you found them useful, what you like, what do you think could be improved upon, and let us know. We take your feedback to heart, and we hope that as we continue to develop and improve these living tools, that feedback will be realized in making these tools even more useful, even more accessible, and easier to use for everyone. So with that, I will end here. I'm sorry that I feel like, as the last person to speak, I'm like maybe the bad guy, but I hope that you nevertheless found it useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we would love to help you out in any way that we can. Over to you, Giacomo.
Thank you, Almu. And I'm afraid we're running out of time. We're actually already running a bit over the scheduled time for this meeting. I've already suggested to colleagues that are following online to, if they have questions, to reach out to us directly by email. Each of the tools has a dedicated outreach or contact form, so please do not hesitate to be in touch with the relevant team. And for those of you that are here in the room, or those that are left here in the room, as I mentioned, we're going to be here for the whole week. The colleagues will be just outside. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to come by, stop by, and ask away. We'll be there for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And please join me in a short round of applause for our speakers. Thank you.